My name is Trent Schlom, and as she just mentioned, yeah, I'm a play-by-play announcer. Basically, I talk about sports. So we're going to go in a little different direction than what we just saw, learning about all the science of pregnancy. Yeah, something a little different. How did I get here? Well, I've asked a lot of questions. I've got a chance to meet a lot of people, and one thing that they always ask is, or I always ask is, how did you get to where you are? I got lucky. That's the answer to the question I've asked forever. How do you get lucky? What do you do? Things just happen. You got to get to know people. Okay, that's wonderful. I always thought, okay, yeah, that's kind of cute, right? You got lucky, sure, being humble. But at some point, it starts to get a little bit frustrating. You want to know, come on, I want to progress. I want to know the answer. You get lucky. So I've taken that and learned a lot of things, and I stand here telling you, I got lucky. Part of that has to do with not so much just falling in the right place, but when you get lucky, you got to know what to do with it. You got to first have a dream, which is something that I've known for a long time. I wanted to be on ESPN. Now, maybe not the way I am now. For a long time, I always thought, oh, man, I am going to be a great football player, a great basketball player. Somehow, some way, athletics were going to get me on television. Well, I was a freshman at Orange Lutheran High School, got a chance to play for the legendary high school football coach, Jim Kuna. And one of the things that I had a chance to learn from him was, learn a little bit about football, a lot about leadership, a lot about life. But you ask him, he'll tell you, I was the worst player he's ever seen. I was awful. I tell people, I was the only linebacker in the history of football that couldn't tackle. So that made my career really, really short. So up to the broadcast booth I went. I had a chance to call some Orange Lutheran games with Mark Roberts, and part of that too was one day there was a phone call to Orange Lutheran that said, from Fox Sports, that said, hey, we're looking for one of your students maybe to come up and help us out in the booth. So I got a phone call, and okay, great. I got lucky. They picked me. So up to the booth I went, got a chance to spend some time with Chris McGee, who's the play-by-play announcer at the time. He's at Time Warner Cable Sports now, doing a lot of Lakers coverage. Chris has done very, very well for himself. Still a mentor to me. Getting a chance, and I was up there, I was 15 years old, and by nature of that, right, I couldn't even drive myself to these games. I had an internship, I couldn't drive myself. My parents, God bless them, they're here today. They would drive, we'd get there 3 hours before kickoff. They'd sit in the freezing cold watching at times some bad high school football, and all while I got an opportunity to sit in the press box and learn from professionals and try to master the craft, learn as much as I can. Okay, yeah, I had a job, but really, I was like a sponge trying to soak up all the information I could. And if you think that's a sacrifice, my parents also helped pay tuition here at Chapman, too. So that's a whole different level. I could never possibly thank them enough. Yeah, we'll give them a round of applause for that, sure. So I'm getting a chance to spend some time with Fox Sports West, learning all that I could as basically the bottom level position. It wasn't really a job. And the way labor laws are today, you could never get away with doing what I did. Essentially, I got lucky, right? Well, in the meantime, I'm trying to work on my on-air career. I don't want to be behind the stage forever. I want to go and I want to talk about sports. That's my dream. I want to set myself goals. That's what I want to do. I want to talk about sports. Well, one of the football coaches at Orange Lutheran, an assistant coach, his name's Mike Crawford. Mike came to me. I was a junior in high school, and he goes, Trent, let's start a broadcast network where we can go and we can talk about sports. I'll go, I got an old football camera, I'll go hold the camera, we can run down to Best Buy, we bought a microphone, and just like that, I had accidentally created the Lancer Sports Network, a full online, really sports network. On accident. And I got myself a summer job, so that was able to appease the parents as well. Not a bad deal. So I do that for a little while, get a chance to just learn what I can. And again, this is all a big part of creating your own opportunities. I was 16 years old, 15, when I started doing this. Nobody comes and asks a 15-year-old, hey, do you want to come work for us? You kind of just have to keep showing up and create those opportunities, and that's something that I have certainly taken to heart. From there, I was able to graduate, go on to Chapman University, get a chance to work for some pretty cool companies. I interned at KESQ, which is the ABC affiliate. They needed 3 sports reporters. They only had 2. I was the intern. They put me on camera. I got lucky. Part of it, again, showing up and doing those kind of crazy stories. Real quick for a second, while I was in high school, some crazy things kind of happened. There was one time I was public address announcing a game. It was the CIF championships for girls basketball. And look, not very many people are going to your girls basketball games, right? But this is the playoffs. This is a big deal. Braille Linda's in the house. We're sitting there ready to go and getting ready to start the game. And just as always, we have Miss Nancy Paul would read the prayer, and I would, introduce our national anthem singer. Well, we get kind of close to tip-off, and I'm looking around going, oh boy, where's our national anthem singer? Now, I talk, that's what I do, but I don't sing, unless it's karaoke. You can get me on a good night, we can do some karaoke and have some fun. But I'm not much of a singer at all. So we're looking around, waiting and waiting, and Miss Paul reads her prayer, and I'm looking, I'm scanning. I can't find a singer anywhere. So I go, and I start, and I begin, and I say, why don't we all stand and join together as we sing the national anthem? Join together. That was the key. That did not happen. So I get started, and I'm singing the national anthem, and it was embarrassing. Of course, 10 minutes after that was a bunch of choir students. I think 25 choir students walk in the door to come watch the game. So of course, that's one of those times maybe I got a little bit unlucky. So that kind of thing does happen. But what I was able to learn from things like that was you got to be prepared. And from that point forward, I carried on my iPod, I had a rendition of the national anthem, always ready to go. But it's through those experiences. One of the hard parts for me is, look, I'm 21 years old. I'm in a job, I work for ESPN now, calling games in a position where I am not only there's everybody mostly older than me. Pretty much everybody has more experience than me, and I'll tell you this, all of them are smarter than me. So what do? I try to learn as much as possible. And for a job that requires a lot of talking, maybe listening might be the most important thing that I do, trying to soak up anything that I can. Being an eternal student is something that is absolutely huge for me. I know my parents say, Trent, seems like you've been at Chapman forever. Maybe not an eternal student in that way, but certainly learning from any opportunity I can. One thing I do, which is a little bit different from pretty much everybody else in my generation, I read the newspaper. It's kind of a strange thing, I know, but you got to be aware. So many times I've heard people say, well, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, one, you got to know something. That much, you got to know at least a little bit. But as far as who you know, I can't tell you how many conversations I've been able to have with people who know far more than I do, and connections that I've been able to make because I'm informed. You don't have to be a genius, you just have to be aware. And getting those connections, getting a chance to meet those people and being able to have a conversation. Getting a chance to say, hey, great, nice to meet you, okay, wonderful. That does nothing. Getting a chance to talk to them, learn something, have a real conversation, just about knowing what's going on in the world is one of the things that is just so, so, so important. The job I do now, a lot of times, there is a lot of pressure. I've been a part of startups for a long time. I mentioned creating your own opportunities. Startups are a big part of that, and you want to talk about a risk. That is a huge risk. There is no fallback. You have to deliver. So many people have invested all they have into doing those kind of startups and being a part of starting companies, risking so much. There is no plan B. Lancer Sports Network was that. I worked for a company, IBN Sports was like that. A lot of times, Chapman News. Chapman News, in a lot of ways, is like that. By the way, Time Warner Channel 6, Uverse 99, Fridays at noon. You can watch. That is, if you live in Orange. I know we have a huge audience. But getting a chance to spend some time and learning the entrepreneurship that comes from all of those things. And even this ESPN project, which really, you're taking a mid-major conference, and you're putting them on a platform that nobody really has ever used before, watch ESPN or ESPN3, and getting a chance to stream games. There's a lot of risk that comes along with that. But that pressure from that risk is something that I like to think I thrive on. Just the nature, kind of in a lot of ways, of what I do, especially there's some times when I'm sitting, I'm calling a game, we'll be doing a promo, getting ready to go. Meanwhile, I got a producer screaming God knows what in my ear. I'm trying to non-verbally communicate with my analyst next to me, all meanwhile send out a tweet and keep everything together while there's a disaster going on in the truck. Preventing those kind of things from you seeing them. Probably happens about 5 to 10 times a game. Thank goodness we have a crew that's able to back me up and make sure that, it isn't a total disaster. What happens with us happens with everybody. It's just part of the nature of the business. But making sure that those kind of things don't happen, because it's my face that you see, it's my voice that you hear, but it's the work of about 30 people or more. People that have invested not only their time, their efforts, their finances, to being a part of a project and taking that risk and getting a chance to do that I represent every time I'm out there. That's not lost on me, and that's some pressure, but it's something that I'm okay with. I've always known that talking about sports was something that I've wanted to do. In some ways, I think that that's a little bit of a broad dream, but with that, if you dream only, that's all it will ever become, because you have to be able to set those goals, set those milestones, know what's coming next. Find something you love. Sure, that's a wonderful place to start, but you gotta be able to take that next step, which is equally important, and know, how am I going to get there? For me, I've gotten lucky in a heck of a lot of ways, but along with that, you set paths, you set goals, and you set a place that you look for, a place that you can be down the road and do everything you can to get there. Sure, you have to work hard, you have to do things the right way, but with that, a lot of the times comes getting a chance to not just get to know people, but get people to root for you. Be likable. Get people to understand what you're trying to accomplish and see how they can help you, and more importantly than all of that, seeing that in other people and trying to help pay it forward. Thank you so much, everybody.